All right, so we're going to begin with our county commissioner candidates. They're going to introduce themselves. They get a 2-minute opener telling us about themselves and who they are. We're going to start with left to right, and we're going to start with Beth right there.
Hello, my name's
Here you go. Ski the sound.
My name's Beth Borasevich. So when you guys see my name around, it's Borasevich, Borasevich. It's Russian. It's my ex-husband's name. I just didn't feel like going back to my old name. Too much paperwork. Nah. Anyway, so I moved here 3 years ago. And from Vegas. I lived in Vegas for about 36, 38 years. Raised my children there. When I moved to Vegas, originally it was just like Pahrump. It was wide open spaces. Everybody was nice to everybody. You could go into the MGM and they would remember your name. But then again, that's when the mafia was here. And the mafia, you know, they took good care of everybody because they wanted you to return. And then the mafia brought all the extra people out here, from what I understand. So anyway, which is kind of funny because the land out here is not fertile in a lot of places. So anyway, when I got out here, I was sitting at my computer and I was hit with this email that said my electric rate was going to go up, whatever the first rate was in November of 22, I think it was. And then a couple weeks later, around Christmas time, I hear that we're getting another 4% increase. I am now on Social Security. I am now, you know, my husband took all the money and left, and I'm just sitting here going, how am I going to pay for this? This is ridiculous. So I got really pissed off. And I started a group called Voices in Nye County. If you're on that group, you know what I have to say about Nye County. I mean, not Nye County, of VEA. And VEA is hurting this town. We need to get them to tell us where our money is, because we own VEA. A lot of people didn't know, because I went to the very first meeting and told them, people that, how come we're not seeing the financial statements? People are going, yeah. So anyway, that's one of the things that I started when I first got here. I want to work with this town. I want to work with everybody with all their different ideas. I want to be the one with, I have a big mouth and I'll just say whatever I need to say to get noticed and to try and get an answer. Thank you.
You gotta be louder than that.
My name is Dan Blackstone. My wife and I have been here for 6 years. We moved from Oregon down here. We were 31 years up in Oregon. I have been a businessman. I am not a politician. I have never had a desire to run for any public office in my life. I've never attempted to until now. So why did I do this? I did it because people came to me last year and asked me if I would run for commissioner, and I told them no, 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 no. And then I went home and I thought about it and I prayed about it. And I finally started getting a little more comfortable, and I thought, oh boy. So I told my wife I was going to run for commissioner, and she said, are you crazy? Because you're not a politician. I said, that's right. So I'm a businessman. I've been self-employed for most of the last 43 years. I started my first business in 1980 in California. It wasn't the best time to start a business. It was a furniture manufacturing company. Interest rates were pretty high, and it got to the point where builders were not building houses. When that happens, people don't buy furniture, and so you can guess at what happened to my furniture company. Then I decided to pack up my little brown paper sack and move to Oregon. So I was born and raised in California, back when California was a good state. And then I moved to Oregon when Oregon was a good state. And again, we were there for 31 years. That drove us into the real estate business. I became a land developer building houses in Oregon. I was a real estate broker for 23 years. And then I got caught with in the 2008 downturn. I got caught with a subdivision. So that was down pretty bad.
15 seconds.
How about?
15 seconds, sir.
Just do the flag.
So in 2018, I decided to sell my business. We were the largest trainer in the state of Oregon, sold it. and we moved down to Pahrump to retire. And then after sitting on our hands for about 6 months, we started Blackstone Gun Safety, which we're a firearms training company, and we've been doing that ever since.
Time.
Good evening, I'm Sally Kerr. Thank you all for staying up past our bedtimes to be here for this. I appreciate that. I am a 22-year resident of Pahrump. I have raised my kids here. They have gone to school here. I have not only adult grown children in town, but 9 grandchildren, and am devoted to this community. My motivation for running for office is those grandchildren and the fact that I want them to have the same kind of experience here, be able to stay here with their kids, be able to have jobs in a future, be able to provide for themselves and their families, and want to have a voice and make a difference to make sure that that happens for them. I have been involved in this community for a long time, not just as a resident, but with a heart for community service. I was the CEO of the Pahrump Valley Chamber of Commerce. I have led Nevada Outreach and the No to Abuse program. I have served with the 9 Communities Coalition across multiple arenas, the Veterans Advisory Committee, the Pahrump Tourism Committee, the Affordable Housing Committee. I have sat with others and talked about the homeless wraparound events and how we can help the homeless in our communities. And certainly the RAM Medical Services, and have been there and donated time and done things with them. Currently, I serve on the board for Living Free Health and Fitness. I serve on the Seroptimus board, which really is devoted to empowering girls and women through education to have a future. I sit on the Economic Development Authority board and have for many years, and am also a part of the, I'm a part of the,
15 seconds.
okay, I'll wrap up then with the last thing I do is I'm the chairperson of the Nevada Child Justice Task Force that are in charge of taking care of monies that come into Nevada and granting them to the people who take care of the children who suffer from abuse in Nevada and work at Child Welfare and Safety League.
Good evening, my name is John Koenig. I am a past county commissioner. I am a resident of Pahrump for 20 years this month. I am on the Regional Planning Commission, Regional Transportation Commission, and I am president, chairman of the board of Pahrump Valley Public Transportation, which also runs VetTrans, which gives veterans rides back and forth for their medical needs for free. That's a big deal, believe me. We take veterans into Las Vegas. We take them wherever they have to go for nothing. Initially, a while back, I said I wasn't going to run for commissioner again. Let me say this, I'm 82 years old. That's a year older than Biden, and everyone's bitching about that. Anyone has a problem with it, you can meet me at the gym anytime between 4 and 4:30 in the morning, 5 days a week, all right? And Gregory will bear that to that one. Anyways, I had said I wasn't going to run. That made my wife very happy. Even though when I sat on the commission, I enjoyed it, and it wasn't really a problem with her. But then I saw what was happening to the county. And I wasn't happy with some of the things I saw. And well, the commissioners are all here today, and they'll probably hate me for this, but I just wasn't, some things I had done as commissioner, the last thing I did was get the money for the shelter. Years we talked about a shelter.
15 seconds.
So I got the money for the shelter, and the shelter got built, but we need money in this county. We need to stop spending money that we don't have. I fixed it before, I'm going to fix it again. So,
Don't be dropping that mic.
No.
All right, what do you want to start with? All right. Okay, we'll start with something easy. I don't want to hit him with something hard. That early. All right. Can you talk about your thoughts concerning the growth of the town of Pahrump and what your vision is? Let's start with John Koenig.
Let's talk about the growth of the town of Pahrump. That's one reason I'm running again. The next 4 years are going to be explosive in this town. Whether you like it or not, there's going to be growth. I'm not happy about growth. I tried to slow it down and stop it when I was on the board, and you can't, because there are deals out there that were signed years and years ago that'll let this town grow to 100,000 people, and we don't really want that, do we? The next 4 years, you're probably going to see this town grow to at least 70,000 people. There's people roaming around this town with sacks of money. They have a lot of money. They have things they want to do, and that's fine. District 2 is rural. I want District 2 to stay rural. We need shopping down south, so those people don't have to drive up here, wreck their cars, get in accidents. We need a lot of things down south. We don't need much up here, except to keep it rural. I want to keep it acre and a half, 2.5, whatever we want up here, and let them go nuts down south. We're going to have growth, and it needs to be responsible growth. We can't let it get out of hand. It's going to come, and it's going to come and hit us in the back like you never saw before, and someone needs to watch it and take care of it. I'm talking to some of the big guys now. I want to get Silverton back on the books. There's another big hotel that wants to build down south. This stuff is going to happen whether we like it or not, unfortunately.
15
But
seconds.
that's my deal with District 2, is keeping it rural. Responsible growth and retaining our ruralness.
All right. I want to know who the big guys are, but Sally, you next.
So I certainly agree that we need balanced growth, and I certainly believe that the county commissioners are going to be responsible for what happens over the upcoming 4 or 8 years. We have a decade of looking forward to change in this town. I don't think there's anyone in here who doesn't believe that we want to maintain what we have in a rural environment. I also think that we do have development agreements that have already been done, that we're going to be accountable to those developers as they come forward to build houses. It's more than just that, though. We have to think about how are we letting businesses come in? What are we doing to really bring innovation? How are we going to allow businesses to open and grow? And what are we going to do about, I keep hearing all of these things about we need a theater and we need a this and we need a that. And we need plenty of things, but it's not government's job to bring in a theater, right? We want to have an environment that is so good for families and so good for businesses that they come, bring the money and make the investment. Because we're not as an agent, we're not as a government going to make that investment. We want to till that ground, so to speak, so people can come in and do that, make the money, make the investment, move into our communities, pay the fees that they need to build a home that's going to impact the rates of service that we have, the development of good, accountable fees that are paid that go into those budgets that then take care of our roads and take care of the things that we need to be taken care of. I think we need to be more fiscally sound. There's no question in my mind that the commissioners need to be watching that budget closely and accounting for the dollars that are brought in and how they're spent. And I think that, commissioners certainly recognize that that's one of the top jobs that we do, is the oversight of that budget.
Say the question again.
Can you talk about your thoughts concerning growth of the town of Pahrump and what your vision is?
I don't know if I really have a vision. Growth is not a bad thing if it's managed properly. I was a land developer for almost 20 years in the state of Oregon. When I started doing land development, the minimum lot size was 7,500 square feet. And when I was sitting on the side as a developer, I didn't like that because I wanted to get more houses in there. Now they will not allow any lots larger than 3,000 square feet. They have to have easements with their neighbors so they can put a ladder up against their house. It's sad. And we don't want to go that far, but there's already a lot of land that's platted here for 7,000, 10,000 square foot lots. And we're right, we gotta honor those agreements that were made. I have an acre of property, I like it. All the people around me have an acre of property, that's really nice. And I think we can grow responsibly. And I wouldn't be surprised if John's right, we hit 70,000 in 4 years. And it's very possible. I mean, when we moved here about 6 years ago, I think there was 37,000, and I believe we're tipping about 50,000 now. So it can happen.
Like I said, I came from Vegas. 82, it was like Pahrump. Look at Vegas today. I do not want to see Pahrump go the way of Vegas. I don't want to see all those houses come in here, and then they say, you know what, you didn't conserve enough water, so now you have to take out your grass. I don't want to have to sit here and hear that you got to take out your pool. You can't wash your car because we have too many houses. In Pahrump here, there are some areas in which they have housing developments that they want to bring in. Why? Why do you want those housing developments here? For the people? What are the people going to do here? They're going to drive to Vegas and they're going to work there and come back. They might spend some money, but where? So the thing is I want to curtail the current open, it seems to me, openness to come and build as many houses as you possibly can. I don't think we need that here in Pahrump at all. And the other thing that I want to bring up is I was reading all the old papers. Oh my God, there's so much. Anyway, per the report, Nye County, all of Nye County, could potentially have 495,000 people from the current deeded lands. That's people's already bought the land. They haven't said they're going to build anything. But Basin 162 down here in Pahrump can only support 80,000 people. And I didn't write down the name of the environmental, whoever it was that wrote this, but I thought that was important for everybody to know. There's all these little numbers that are really going to impact us. We need to cut back, look at what we're doing, and then make the decision. You need to think outside the box and not think about what we've always done.
Is there any rebuttals? All right, next question.
Okay, we're going to work down the line, so we'll start with you, Sally. Give your opinion on the practice of the commissioners supporting each other's agenda items.
Well, there is no one on the commission that by themselves passes anything. The idea that a single commissioner takes on a project and brings it to completion by themselves is wrong. The commissioner's board is a board of people. It requires a vote of 3-2 at the minimum to pass something. And you know, the idea that I hear commissioners or former commissioners or other commissioners say, I did, but it still took a group of people who voted with them on something. No one single-handedly does anything on the commissioner's board. So, I mean, I think that actually, I don't know if there was a negative connotation to the idea of of that question, but I know that the board needs to work together to do anything, and we've got to work in partnership with one another. We have to, you know, if you're sitting on that board of county commissioners, I'm not afraid to stand up in any situation and say this is wrong, or this needs more attention, or we need to think about this farther. But I understand that by myself, I'm not going to do anything on the board of commissioners. It's designed that no one is going to do something by themselves on the board. It's meant to be that way. It's meant to be a representation of the whole county. None of us represent just a district once we're elected. Once we're elected, we represent Nye County as a whole, and we should be able to work with one another. We have to be able to work with one another to get anything accomplished on the board of county commissioners.
I do not have any agenda item myself. I do want to have seen commissioners that do have agenda items. And some of the sad things I've seen is when I watch the commissioners' meetings, why are the votes always 5-0 or almost 5-0? And that just, it doesn't make sense to me. There's got to be, they can't disagree or agree that much on things. And that does take 5 people to decide, or 3 out of the 5 to decide what's going to happen.
I also have absolutely no agenda except to bring my thoughts into this town and not change it, but to try and keep it as rural as possible, but also to protect our water. We really need to do that because I'm concerned. I live with a well, and my well all of a sudden dropped one day, and I was like, oh God, and I called some guy and he said, well, that's because this well over here broke and your water went there, and I'm going, well, don't we have enough water? I need to get more information on the aquifers, but I am concerned about the water in this town. As for the commissioners, I know that they have workshops, or they should be having workshops in which we should be able to go to as well to discuss the different items that come up to them for the meetings every 2 weeks. And then for them to vote 5-0, yeah, I kind of find that fishy too. It's like, is there any independent thinking around here? Or is it the good old boys, this is the way I want it to be? That shouldn't fly around here. So I don't think that, I think that we need to look at a way to let people know what the commissioners are thinking, how we're working together, and how we're making the decisions. Not just, oh, I agree, all 5 of them.
Could you repeat the question? I missed the first part of it.
Can you repeat the question?
Karen, he's asking you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was reading.
I know it's getting late.
The question is, give your opinion on the practice of commissioners supporting each other's agenda items.
Well, first of all, someone has to come up with the agenda item. Someone has to have the idea or whatever, or have the problem given to him by somebody, and come up with a way to fix it. Now, he can work with one other commissioner if he wants to, but generally they come up with the idea, it goes to the county manager, and they come up with an agenda item, and then they get the agendas and the agenda item and the backup at the same time or later than the public. They can't get it before because then our rest doesn't let them. That's the first chance the rest of the board has to look at it, digest it. They still can't talk to anybody about it. Okay, so then you sit up there and you discuss it you should be discussing it among yourselves, unless it's a simple thing. And generally, if it's for the good of the county, you get a 5-0 vote. Because that's what they're there for, is to make things good for the county. Really bad agenda items don't get to the board. They fail before they get there. Because people realize that this is going nowhere, but that's just what it is. Someone comes up with an idea and you do it.
All right. We're gonna go to Mr. Potts.
Oh, I thought we were finished that.
What?
What?
Okay, all right.
She loves the fact that I'm here. She can't deny it.
I know, that's great. And it doesn't all fall on me anymore. All right.
It's nice to see helping each other.
You hear that volunteerism and pride is going by the wayside. That seems to stem, or at least, I guess stem, or maybe our leaders are the ones that we look up to for that. Let's just say that. So what do you see as your job when it comes to being a role model here in Nye County? How involved would you be in the community activities. And we're going to go with Dan Flex.
Depends on the activity.
Well, we're not talking about brothels.
That's not an activity I'm into anyway. If the people want me to be the commissioner for District 2, my goal is to be the people's commissioner for all of my county, not just District 2. So that may be getting involved in a whole lot of stuff that maybe I don't know that much about. But I have a lot of years' experience in business. I have a lot of common sense, and most of this is just common sense. And I'm not afraid to volunteer.
I've been volunteering since I think I was like 8 years old. They were cleaning up something on the street back in Michigan, and I got a whole bunch of the kids together, and we went and cleaned it up. Then I joined some, I don't even remember, all I know it had to do with the telephone company, and I was sitting there with a bunch of other people volunteering to do something. I think it was about 13. And then from there I went into the Air Force, and I have joined so many different organizations, it's not even funny. On top of that, I served as the secretary of my HOA in Vegas for 12 years. And the reason I got selected for 12 years is because people loved me. They may not like me personally because I might say something that offended them, but it's not to offend them, it's to stand up for them. I would fight tooth and nail when people wanted something done and the rest of the board was going, no, well, I think we should, I don't care. That's not right. You follow the rules, you do what the people want. As for getting involved in town, I will get involved in whatever needs to be done. I would like to see the Parks and Recreation, I think it was that committee was taken away because people weren't doing what they were supposed to do. Not that somebody said, hey, you're not doing this, you're not doing your job. They just said, oh, you're not doing your job, so we're going to cancel it. Didn't make sense. But anyway, and I think that they can consolidate the different events that go on in town here so that there's one department that handles that. That way the money would go into the place that it needs to go, and it would get distributed to the charities that people say they're going to go to, and which I've heard that they haven't. So whatever I need to do, I would be more than happy to jump on any committee that anybody needs.
John, go ahead.
It's me.
That's you.
Let me say this about being a county commissioner. When I was a county commissioner, I used to go up to Round Mountain, Gabbs, you name it. And I'd walk around their stores up there, shaking hands, handing out my business cards, saying, here I am, I'm a Nye County commissioner. I'm not a Pahrump commissioner. If you have a problem with your commissioner, call me and we'll talk about it. As far as going to things happening around the county, obviously it's easier to go to things that are happening in Pahrump than are happening in Round Mountain because it's a long drive up there. But I went to a lot of things up there and down here. I was on several committees down here helping people. I'm a big fan of the powwow. You can ask the people that run that. I've actually acceded to their demands that I go there without my gun on. And that doesn't happen very often. But I'm open to helping and doing whatever it takes.
Even in my opening, I spoke about community service, and I think that, you know, I've got years of experience here working with volunteerism and service communities. I think, though, what I didn't get to talk about because Ski made me stop was the idea of the partnerships that can be developed between organizations, service organizations, and government entities. And the idea that the commissioners really can develop great partnerships to serve our communities with the people in those organizations. You look at the partnerships between Nye Communities Coalition and the things that they're doing with Health and Human Services, even with the opioid things that are coming in the One Nevada plan, and the county was had the foresight to jump into those lawsuits for us to gain some of that opioid money back, and it's going to be those kind of partnerships that move this county forward, and relying on the organizations that do the service, and then us being the ones as commissioners that can help write the policy around them or get them into the places that they need to be, or write the letters of support for their grants, or do those kind of things that need to be done to build those partnerships to serve our community, in addition to the fact that I'm at all the events. I mean, I just like being out doing those kind of things and being involved in the service organizations. But I think that the value is really the partnerships that can be built from that.
All right.
You
Is
have
there
51 more seconds, right?
More seconds?
just 51?
Oh, she got mad at me for cutting her off.
I forgot. I thought I was on a 1 minute rebuttal and running over.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, does anybody have any
Straight
rebuttal?
up question.
Was she the one that gave you the stuff out in the parking lot?
That wasn't a rebuttal, that was a straight up
Okay,
question.
so very good. I will take my 30 more seconds because I've wasted 20 of them now, yes.
Okay.
So no, I really do, I do believe that service in our communities is valuable on so many levels, and have, worked directly with the homeless. I have gone out and set up trash routes. I was part of the group that counted our homeless, and know what the difference is between how many we have now and how many we had in 2015 when it was 64, and now when it's 132. Knew those people by name. Right? Those are the kind of things that happen when you're doing community service.
Remind me to bring in some gummies tomorrow.
I'm trying to be flexible here.
That'll be cool.
Then I'm slinky or what?
Aren't you glad you are a good citizen?
You are a slinky. Anybody have a rebuttal? All right. Okay, so Karen's got a question.
What time's the dispensary closed?
I don't know.
She always gives me the hard ones. We'll start with Beth. Do you want to pick up the
You
mic?
take that so wrong.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that comment right there. I'm gonna leave it.
You're cutting into her time.
I'm sorry.
Okay. When it comes to our wild horses and burros, a lot of them have been getting hit and killed, especially on the north side. Do you have any ideas on how we can remedy that?
I certainly do. This is one thing, I have the horses that go right down my street, and then the donkeys come after, and they use my mailbox to scratch their behind. Half the time my mailbox is on the ground. It's really funny. Anyway, yes, I am so concerned about the horses and the burros and the people. The people are at risk, and I think that, and I'm not sure if it's the federal government that's going to have to help us or not, the land along 160 specifically, I think that we need to have fencing. Not necessarily, full-on fencing, but that the beams with the wire in it, I don't know what that's called, cattle fencing or whatever, but I think that would help deter the animals from going into 160. The other thing is, and I know we don't have the money, but maybe somebody can start some sort of a fund, and we can build a bridge on either end of town so that the animals could go across 160. Then when we widen it, they'll still be protected. That could cost a lot of money, but it's beneficial to not only the animals, but it's beneficial to the people that are driving on 160. I mean, it's something that sounds really bizarre to have in a small town, but if you're going to think about your animals and if you're going to think about the safety of people, I think those are the two things that we need to look at doing.
That's a very interesting question because I worked on that a lot. Right now, and by the way, Beth and I are neighbors, and my mailbox is always like this. So. But the answer apparently, according to everybody, is to fix the damn fence. Okay? You need to fix the fence, keep the fence fixed, stop people from breaking down the fence. It's no big deal. But apparently it is a big deal. But there are efforts right now to fix the fence. Once the fence is fixed, it should be much better until people break the fence. It's not the horses breaking the fence, it's people breaking the fence. The other problem is people down here feeding the horses. Don't feed the horses, don't feed the donkeys. When Mr. Harris, the old man Harris, was alive, he and I talked about it a lot. He was willing to spend money to make more of the blinking signs that warn people that there's horses around. And we offered that up to NDOT, and they typically, NDOT went, yeah, well, we'll take care of it. And we got one sign that blinks. So the horses are there, the donkeys are there. If you hit one, you're going to hurt your car, and you're going to hurt yourself. Ask Commissioner Carboni, who wrecked my car. So.
Frank, would you like a rebuttal?
Yeah, right.
Look at the farm.
So I do know that, again, this is a problem the commissioners have been working on and trying to get a seat at the table with BLM about what to do with the larger problem of the horses. We do know that if working with BLM, we're better to have a voice than to not, even though I agree with sentiments already expressed tonight that it's not always that you may not always believe that they're doing the best job for us. If we are not at the table, we're not gonna have an answer. Again, another perfect example of that partnership is commissioners working on the fencing, which needs to be redone, and a nonprofit who was here this weekend, bringing in volunteers, working with Nye County to have that fence rebuilt. And in fact, it's the volunteers who brought Fred and Rosie's colts back into the Death Valley Marketplace this weekend and had a big fanfare about the colts being here, and that group is putting together the manpower to do the fencing, working directly with Nye County to do that. And it's a great example, again, of that partnership. The idea of maintaining the fence, and certainly, I agree, like additional road signage would be great, lights would be great. We can do those solar now, when, you know, years ago maybe we couldn't have. There are things like that we could do. And educating the public to stay away from the horses. I mean, I literally been at a ball game here with my grandchildren and had horses in the field, that the ball game had to be stopped so we could move the horses out of the field. So I've been like, they clearly are too acclimated to humans when they're gonna come down and get in the ball field with the 9-year-old ball players. On the other hand, all of us know there are beauty about them that we don't see anywhere in anything else. And so we want to protect them, we need to protect our people. And I think there are ways to do that that can be managed in partnership with each other.
How long has that fence been broken down? You know, John?
A long time.
Long time. Because I don't think there's been a fence up since I've been here in 6 years. And I know my wife and I were driving down 160 up on the north side, and a little stallion come running across him. He was flying, and there was a car coming, and we both just missed him. And if there would have been a fence there, it wouldn't have been a problem. And a couple of more caution signs would be a good idea. And maybe I'm missing them, but I haven't seen any signs in the Calveda Eye that says, don't feed the horses, or there's a $500 fine. But I see them in Vegas, because we get a lot of new people coming in that just don't know better.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do another side note. Yes, the fence has been broken, and usually from crashes. We do wanna, possibly, like Beth was talking about, the overpass. There is wildlife crossing up at Mountain Springs. They have those tunnels that they're using up there. And there is the nonprofit group that is helping. I know that they are hoping to get a fence fund. People can find out more about that. So we do have all those side notes. Even if we do have some crossing signs, the burrows are not easy to see. They're designed that way, not easy to see. One of the big things would be to get people to stop feeding the animals. That'd be great. And they wouldn't come down to the roadway as much. But yeah, we're hoping with a collaboration that we could possibly get where they're not coming on the roadway as much. So hopefully the exposure and knowledge and effort, we won't see as many. I can tell you it's disturbing to go down and film over and over and over again multiple
animals being killed, not just one, not just two, but also the injuries of the drivers and you know, over and over and over again this happening. But thank you for you guys caring about that. And so my question is going to be, water has long been an issue here in southern Nevada. Though we've had some wet days, a dry spell is sure to set us back once again. What are some of your thoughts on water issues plaguing our valley? And I believe that it goes back to Beth as our first question. Where are we at?
I think you're John.
Was it John? Okay, back to John Koenig.
Water has been talked about since probably I moved here 20 years ago. There's no easy answer. There's a certain amount of water down there, and that's it. One of the problems is we don't really know how much water is down there. The other problem is we don't know how much water we use. If you live in a development, we know how much water you use because it's metered. If you have a well, like most of us do, you don't have a meter. I personally do have a meter because I want to know how much water I use. Because I change things to try and use less water. I don't know if I'm doing good if I can't tell. The meter is free, and you don't really have, no one comes out to look at it, self-reported. But again, we don't know how much water we have, and we don't know how much water we use, so it's a hard question to answer if there's really a water problem or not. I suggest if you're interested in water, you go to the water board, governing board meetings. They talk about water, and they do a pretty good job talking about water.
And you can sign up to have your well monitored, right, if you want to see how much you use?
They don't generally come out and read your, if you have them put the meter on.
No, not a meter, they're measuring it. I was at the Earth Day event this weekend, and they were signing up people who wanted to join a thing to see how deep their well was.
Or have their,
Yeah.
the depth, yeah, that's, you can do that, but that still doesn't tell you how much water you're using. It just tells you if you're going to be in trouble shortly.
Yeah.
I measure my own because when you do the whole thing, put it down here, if it's wet, you're good.
Well, I mean, we all know that, you know, water has been a concern in the desert since we all got here. And, I mean, we're all here because there were artesian springs that ran water through our valley, you know, 50 years ago. John is right, there have not always been very good studies that will even show us how much water we have or what our recharge rate is. I have been told that in fact is changing. There's some really good technology coming out that will help with more accurate studies that will really tell us how much water are we recharging our basin in the amount that we're taking out. I know there was questionable science for a really long time about that, and how do you make decisions if you don't know. I also know that, you know, some of the issue now is the development agreements that are already created will take us to the limit of people for the water resources that we have without any additional growth. And so I think that we need to consider what kind of amendments to those agreements might the county need to be making, even if it costs the county some money to negotiate with those developers to keep our lot sizes as large as we can possibly keep them, and to look at that, the ruralness as often as we can, to consider the water resources that we have. And I think that's the biggest consideration for development that there is the water resources that we have. And it is what is going to cap growth in this valley. Because at some point, you know, they say 80,000 people or 100,000 people is going to be the maximum that water is going to cover. And so, you know, how are we going to manage that in the meantime reasonably, so that we get to the point where everyone who stays here has water? We don't want to be in a situation where we have people using cisterns and having water, you know, trucked in from other places because we didn't plan well enough to give water to all of the citizens who chose to live here.
people have been fighting over water problems for hundreds of years. And when I first got here, I heard about the water problems, and I went and started asking people, are we running out of water or are we not? And I think the smartest answer I got was, it depends on who you talk to. Also, if I understand right, our aquifer runs over into Clark County. And yet Clark County is allowing people to put solar panel farms out there, which take water. Now, they've been stopped from taking the water out of Nye County, but it doesn't stop from taking it out of Clark County, which is going to drain our aquifer. Okay, so, what's the answer? That's a good question. I had a thought maybe of moving our county line all the way to the hump. That way we control the aquifer and don't let Clark County do it. I don't know if that's feasible, but also. The other thing is too, is I think that a lot of people get panicky. A couple of years ago, I think we all felt eventually Lake Mead was going to go dry. You know, and look at it now, it's almost full back up. So it's hard to make decisions when you don't know the facts. And that's it. And I think if you join the Private Well Owners Association, they will come out and check your well for you and do it dead live.
The mission statement of the Nye County Water District Governing Board is protect, provide, and preserve the water resources of Nye County. That is their job. I haven't seen them doing anything. I don't get mail, I don't get anything. What are they doing? And the commissioners should be involved in finding out what they're doing. I also read a really long article that was put together by UNR out here, the extension, and they were talking about cloud seeding. And they have been seeding our clouds for the last couple of years. They do it in the winter, so we get more snow. And then the snow, you know, melts and comes down into our aquifers. And what's funny was that I was reading this, nobody was supposed to tell anybody in Pahrump that we had an agreement with UNR to cloud seed. Well, guess what? I just let that out. So if it's a big deal, then they can blame me. But the other thing is that water is a big deal. Like I said, I don't want us to go the way of Vegas. I don't want us limiting trees, fields, pools, anything that has to do with water, because we were not smart enough to plan for the future.
Just so you know, we did do a story on cloud seeding and spoke to all the professors about 3 years ago.
You start, it's your turn. Okay, this is something that's very near and dear to everybody in this community. There's been issues that have come up concerning the operation of the Pahrump Fall Festival. The town of Pahrump is on its last year of the current contract, which is up for renewal. What are your thoughts of how the Pahrump Fall Festival and how it should be handled in the future?
So I have run the Fall Festival in the past. It was really important to be doing that work by committee. The idea that that is completely a community event. It should be run by committees. There was a committee for the parade. There should be committees for entertainment. There was committees for logistics. We ran meetings where we had those groups all come in. That committees did their work, and then there was a meeting where we would come in and check in with everyone. There were sales going on with sponsorships. There were rodeo support. None of it was done by one organization or one person, not a single bit of it. It was all a shared community experience. And it was brought in that way to be a community experience. And that's what it needs to be. You didn't lose money. You didn't lose money when I had the Fall Festival. Now there were some things since then have been dropped drastically again. There were sponsorships in the thousands of dollars, both for the rodeo sponsorships, for the parade sponsorships, and for entertainment sponsorships. We had organizations that sold those, so it might be that we would have to figure out now who we would sell out, who we would have going out to sell those, how we would be marketing those to companies. But trust me, if people can trust and value that the Fall Festival is there for this community, they want to be a part of it too. Businesses were happy to support that. They were happy to sponsor those things. And we can do that again. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Fall Festival can shine. And that it can make money, and I also think that the town can be supporting it. I mean, I'm not, it doesn't need to make thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And certainly there is something to be said for the towns and county that is taking, you know, wages and those kind of things into account. It might not make as much as it did, but it certainly doesn't need to cost that. And it needs to be a community event in all of the right ways.
I think Sally should be in charge of the Fall Festival.
Yes, sir.
In the 6 years that I've been here, we've been vendors in the Fall Festival every year. Some are better than others. And I gotta say, for our business, last year was fantastic. I heard a lot of people complaining about the, you know, the rides and all that stuff. But you know, it's a circus. I mean, it's always a ripoff. That's the way it's designed. So, but anyway, I'm okay with the way it is. But if Sally can improve it, I'll go for that.
I've been putting on events forever and a day. Like back when I was 8 years old, I put on arts and crafts shows. I helped North Las Vegas put on a 4th of July extravaganza with this really important guy that was a singer. I don't remember his name, but anyway, and that was in their Craig Ranch Park, and that was a big, big, big deal. Anyway, I still think that we need to bring back the Parks and Recreations department and or group or whatever they were called. And like Sally said, we do need committees. It needs to be put together with committees. You need to have budgets, you need to have entertainment, you need to have the rodeo, you need to have the vendors, you need to have all of that, and then you all come together and you discuss it. And then you be sure to broadcast this on YouTube to the rest of the town. You can do it while you're having your meeting, so that everybody knows what's going on. We're not that big that, you know, it would take that much of a big deal to get it done. But anyway, I think that it does need to be done by committee. I do think we need to have a new department put back in place, or the department put back for Parks and Recreation, so that they can follow the money. That's one of the big things I've heard. Specifically, I've heard from people who dealt with some of the people that ran it this year. The money did not go where it needed to go. And I'm a big one for finding out where the money goes. So that's why I think that we need to have that department.
Now, I guess, first of all, I gotta say, Jimmy and his crew deserve kudos for doing what they do. But everybody here that thinks government should run a carnival worked fine before, didn't it? So I guess you can guess what my thoughts would be on that.
I have a rebuttal. I don't think that the government should run the carnival. I think that if this is an event that supports the town and the money is coming in, it's supposed to help the town, somebody needs to be in charge of that money. I know for a fact that people did not get the donations they were supposed to. I could give a whole list. I'm not going to do that because, you know, that's not my place right now. So I just think that we need to have the Parks and Recreation Committee back in place so that they can make sure the money goes where it goes. We need to keep the money coming in and going where it needs to. Otherwise, we're just going to fail. We're going to turn into a little dust town. Anybody else?
Your turn.
I think we're going to do our 1-minute wrap-up for each candidate. And let's start with John Koenig.
Okay, once again, my name is John Koenig. I have 4 children, 5 grandchildren, and I think 13 great-grandchildren. But I'm losing count. So, anyway, I've been here, as I said, 20 years.
No wonder you go to the gym.
You're right. I was born in Long Island, raised in Connecticut, and I spent too many years in California. And then I moved here, and we love it here. We're not leaving. You're going to put me in the cemetery next to Sharon, I hope. So, but I was, like I said, I was a commissioner for 4 years. I really enjoyed it. I did some really good things. I want to go back there and fix some stuff that seems to have gone askew. And there's a few things that I didn't get to do that I wanted to do. So I'm asking for your vote for District 2. Thank you.
So I appreciate everybody coming out and sticking with us tonight till the bitter end. With John, I'm grateful to be a resident of Pahrump. I've been here 22 years. I was born and raised in Montana, did my short stint in California, recognized that my kids were going to be bused into inner city Orange and said we need to start looking for some place we can raise our kids. And that was Pahrump. And now they're raising grandkids here. And I said that before. One of the things I didn't get to talk about that I think is really important is that I've heard multiple times that our citizens don't always feel like they have access to our commissioners or don't always feel like they're heard by the commissioners. And one of the things that when I'm elected I would want to implement right away is a time that the citizens could come, like coffee with commissioners or coffee with a commissioner, or we go to some of the new restaurants in town and we give them some of our businesses to down and talk over the kind of things that are coming up in our community and really give people the idea that they have a voice and an access, and that they would never come to a commissioners meeting again and stand up in public comment and say that they didn't feel heard.
Sally,
I welcome your vote.
Sally, we're one of my questions for tomorrow, which is right now. Go again.
If you want a politician for commissioner, don't vote for me. I'm a businessman, and I think like a businessman. I got common sense like a businessman, and I'm going to look at everything like a businessman.
I'm asking for your vote because I want to bring my experience from all of the different things that I've done in my life to Pahrump. I want to help Pahrump see that we can be better without making major changes. I'm not one for huge shopping centers and for all the other things that people are complaining about. We can figure out ways to make movie in the park or movie theaters. I saw it on the side of the college. I thought that was cool. I grew up in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, and I joined the Air Force when I was 21 years old. I have 2 children. I have a boy that's 40 and I have a son that's 50. Ex-husband who went to the Philippines just to fill in to his 28-year-old girlfriend with all of my stuff. So anyway, so I'm here. I'm here trying to make a new life in a great small town. I want to be your voice. I want to stand up and fight for you. I want anybody that has any kind of an issue, no matter what it is, to come to me and I will try and get an answer. The one thing I do want to say that I've noticed is that Beatty and some of the other small towns are really upset that they're not getting the same kind of attention that Tonopah does. So, thanks.
Thank you guys. Thank you to all the candidates, and thanks to Ski and Karen Jackson and Candace and Alicia and the Senior Center and did I say something? And everybody and Beth's ex-husband. You're a jerk, and that's about it. Thanks to somebody great.
And let's give a big hand to Deanna.